Hello from beautiful Edinburgh. My name is Jenny. Welcome to The Bear and the Fox. I'm back today with another roundup of some of our favourite picture books, and today it's all about summer. So let's get started. I've picked 10 of our top favourite summer holiday inspired kids books to share with you today, and the first one is actually in German. It's called Das bunte Meer, wo ist der Unterschied, which translates to The Colourful Ocean, Where is the Difference? Now, as far as I'm aware, there's not actually an English translation of this book, but you don't need to know any German to read it because it's basically a spot difference book. So in each page you need to find the animal that's the odd one out. So which turtle looks different, which fish is swimming in the other direction. On each page you need to find the odd one out, so it doesn't really matter if you fully understand the sentence that's at the top or not. And the illustrations are just really lovely. So my youngest, who is 3.5 now, he's just starting to outgrow board books, but he still really enjoys looking at this and pointing to the odd one out on each page. Next up is another book that we have in German. In German it's called Jasper's Strandladen, but the English original is called George's Store on the Seashore, and it's a counting book. So George is setting up his store on the seashore, and he starts with 1 umbrella, and then he adds 2 nets and 3 rubber ducks, and so on all the way to the end. And at the end, so the last thing he adds is 10 lollipops, and then on the last page you can see his fully stocked store on the seashore, and it's just a really lovely little summery counting book. Next up is another great book for younger kids. This one's in English. It's from the ever popular Maisie the Mouse series, and this one is Maisie Goes Camping. So in this book, Maisie and her friends go camping, and so they set up their tent, and then once they're done with that, later on they sing songs around a campfire, as you do when you go camping. And then our favourite bit is when it's bedtime and they all try and squeeze into the one little tent together, and then something quite funny happens, but I'm not going to give that away in case you haven't read this book before. So this is a lovely little camping story for younger kids. It's not got too much text like most of the Maisie books. And while we're on the topic of camping, I've got another book about camping, Boris Goes Camping. This book has a little bit more text. It's about Boris the grizzly bear, who is going on a camping trip with his class and his teacher, Miss Cluck. And because Boris is a big strong grizzly bear, he very kindly is carrying most of the camping gear. So they have a couple of little adventures along the way. They get into a few scrapes. Then they're putting together their tent, and I love their teepee that they've decorated. And like any good camping story, there's some singing around a campfire. So this is another great feel-good camping story that puts you in the mood for some summer holidays. Moving on from bears to penguins, we've got Penguin on holiday, and this is a really sweet book because Penguin is just super cute, and Penguin is a little bit fed up of all the snow and he wants a proper holiday. So he decides to go on a holiday to the beach, and he gets to the beach and he discovers that a holiday on the beach is a little bit tricky because you can't sledge and you can't ski and you can't skate, and he's not really sure what to do with all the sand. But it's fine because he makes friends with a little crab, and the crab shows him how to have fun on the beach in the sand. And then the time comes for Penguin to go home, and he has to say goodbye to his new friend, and he's feeling a little bit sad, but it's okay, he doesn't have to feel sad for very long, because as it turns out, Crab also needs a holiday. So Crab then comes to visit Penguin and has a holiday in the snow. So Penguin on Holiday is a firm favourite in our house. Next up is another story set at the beach. It's Curious George. Now, Curious George, he gets around quite a bit, and in this book, he's off to the beach. And he ends up doing lots of typical beach things. So here he is, building a sandcastle. Then he fancies himself a bit as a lifeguard. He gets into trouble for that. And he has an encounter with some seagulls. And he gets into trouble for that as well, because it turns out that he's fed all the picnic to the seagulls. But it's okay, because Curious George and the man in the yellow hat make some friends, and then they all have a picnic together. Now, the next book, you may be asking yourselves, why on earth is she holding up a Christmas book when she's talking about the summer holidays? And that's because this is actually a double edition. It's a German edition, but the original is in English. So it's got two books in it. It's Raymond Briggs' Father Christmas is the first one, and then the second one is Father Christmas Goes on Holiday, which in German is called Was macht der Weihnachtsmann im Juli? What does Father Christmas do in July? And it's a lovely sort of comic book style story of what Father Christmas gets up to during the summer. And he goes to all these different places. So he tries having a camping holiday, and that kind of all goes pear-shaped. And then he tries going to Scotland. This is our favourite one, of course. And yeah, typical Scottish summer, lots of rain and lots of midges. And oh, and of course, some haggis. And he ends up poolside in Las Vegas and is enjoying sunning himself. So we love this book because it's really quite funny, but also because we love making up our own stories inspired by this book about what Father Christmas gets up to the rest of the year when it's not Christmas. Next up is a book from Jill Bartram's Bramley Hedge series. Most well known are probably her seasonal Bramley Hedge stories, spring, summer, autumn and winter, but she also wrote a couple of others. And in Sea Story, the Bramley Hedge mice set out on a sailboat adventure in search of the sea, and they find the sea and they go to stay with the Salt Apple family for a little while. And they do, again, lots of sort of seaside things, a picnic on the beach and splashing in the waves until it's time to go home again. Next up is another book from a series. This time it's the Maisie series, which is set in Edinburgh. Maisie is a little bit of a local celebrity here. She's a little kitten who lives with her granny in Edinburgh while her dad, who's a big explorer, is out exploring the world. And in this story, Maisie's mystery tour, Granny and Maisie and their pernickety neighbour, Mrs. McKitty, go on a mystery tour around Scotland, and they end up doing lots of fun summer things like eating ice cream, and they go on a boat ride, and they build sand castles on the beach, which seems to be a bit of a recurring theme in these books I'm sharing today, but it's a typical summer holiday seaside thing to do. So Maisie's mystery tour, and there's loads of other Maisie books to choose from where she goes on adventures, which would also be quite suitable for a summer holiday read. Last but not least is another book in German, although this is actually a German translation of a Swedish children's book by famous Swedish children's author Astrid Lindgren of Pippi Longstocking fame, and it is also available in English. So my German translation is called Ferien auf Zuidkrokan, and in English it's called Sea Crow Island. Now this is actually a chapter book, so there are no pictures, it's just a lot of text. So this is a book that you could read together with your children. You could read it out to them, or older children could also read it by themselves. And Sea Crow Island is the story of a family from Stockholm who go to spend the summer on one of the many islands along the Swedish coastline. And there's no major plot. Nothing dramatic happens. They do have some small adventures, but it's mostly just lots of summery things. Just enjoying the summer. And when I was younger, I used to read this every single summer because this book just captured the essence of summer for me, and one day I will spend a summer on a Swedish island. It's always been a dream of mine. Maybe one day it will come true. In the meantime, I will just keep rereading this book, and this is basically summer bottled up between the pages of one book. And that's all the books I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed our selection. There should be something there for all ages. You can find a list of all the authors and titles over on my blog, and I will put a link to that in the notes below. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do like this video and subscribe to my channel. I hope you all have a great summer, and I will see you next time. Bye!